the steps towards cure of SCI, from reconnection of the spine to the walking. Not only it makes sense that the first step has to be the reconnection of the spine, but that is my method. The first thing that I do is reconnect the spine. Each nerve I can, as part of my healing powers, is that I can see inside the body. So looking at the place where the spine is discontinued, I can see how many nerves are damaged, in what way, and I help. So after I see how many nerves are damaged and in which way, then I help them in the order of their reaction usually, and I help the reconnection of the nerves in the order of priority as well. The first priority will be which nerves reconnect faster, because a spinal cord injury doesn't mean that all nerves are injured the same way. I saw, for instance, nerves that were bonded. The distance between them was very short. Let's say if somebody has a disconnection of 20 nerve packages, because they are nerve bundles. There's not just a string, there's more strings in a bundle. And if I look at the bundle of nerves, let's see there are 20 nerves that are disconnected. They don't look the same, they don't have the same degree of disconnection, and the distance between them is not the same. For instance, they could be nerves that are very, very close to one another, so the way they connect like that, let's say from above to, they can be just a little bit like that, and out of 20 you can have 10 that are just a little bit disconnected, but they don't reach each other, and they don't grow towards each other until they have what it takes. So my work is to make sure that they have what it takes to start working, to start connecting with one another, and they will work their way towards connecting. What is beautiful is that the connection is always perfect. The nerves don't start to try to reconnect until they have what it takes, because they refuse to connect the wrong way. You don't want the nerve corresponding to this one to connect to this. Each nerve has to be connected to its corresponding one. So you have the brain looking down and not giving the signal of reconnection, because it doesn't see this one. So this one is here, it can be very close, and the brain looks through this and looks to see what's happening here and doesn't find it. The brain knows that there is no signal from this, because there is no signal, because this one stopped signaling, because it just doesn't have anywhere to go, it's disconnected. So when this one doesn't know where this is, this one stops signaling. The brain doesn't know where this other one is, and it stops signaling. So when they are helped to see each other, and when they are helped to have what it takes to connect, they start to merge towards each other. They stay in their place. They're just, the whole substance that is missing is put right at its place. It's not put in the wrong place. And the two reconnect. There's more detail to this, but I'll give those details another time. So they connect. And I was taking the example of a bundle that is a number of nerve bundles that are disconnected, that would affect, of course, the corresponding body part, but also the brain part. because the brain doesn't know where the part of the body that doesn't feel anymore is. It can be visually there. The brain can look and say, oh, the leg is there. But otherwise the brain doesn't know it unless it has the information somehow. The brain doesn't know that the rest of the body exists. I looked at somebody's brain reaction, not finding the rest of the body, and it felt like a head that literally doesn't know where the body is. Looking, you know that expression, out of sight, out of mind? It's exactly what is happening, literally. The brain has to know somehow where the parts of the body are in order to work with them. And there is one specific perception, that's the whole body perception, which is a proprioception, but there's much more involved here. So the brain would look and see, okay, the leg is there. For some reason, I don't feel it, but it's there. So it will have a visual information. If the hands work, the brain could feel the touch and could feel that the leg is cold and the leg is not moving, and feel the state of the legs. I was saying that the nerves connect to each other when they know that they connect to the right one. Like you'll not see, like if this comes from the brain, you'll not see this one connected to this or to this or to this. They connect exactly, the pair of nerves connect exactly at the right place. The right pair connects, otherwise they don't. So when they're disconnected, the brain has a signal that says, I don't know where this is. And the brain doesn't send growth, doesn't send the cells that are needed to repair the nerve, doesn't send it because it doesn't want to create a clutter and problems with connection. The brain is very precise and very precisely waiting to find the proper nerve corresponding to this one. This one, the same, doesn't grow towards the upper part because it doesn't want to connect to the wrong one. Like, doesn't want to go sideways, doesn't want to create something where you want to move the hand and you move the leg, or you want to move the finger and you move some intercostal. It has to be exactly the corresponding wire, so to speak. At home, you wouldn't connect wires without knowing where they go. That thinking process is deciding that the nerves don't connect, and they will wait. They can wait 30 years until they have what it takes to connect, and they connect. Once they resolve what they need for connection, they have no problem wanting to reconnect. So I was giving the example of a spinal cord where a number of bundles of nerves are disconnected. We know that there are bundles, not just one separate string. And let's say there are 20 nerves that are disconnected. They're disconnected in different ways, depending on how the accident happened. So you can find a number of nerves that are very close to one another. Like, they're so close, they could touch, but they don't. And even if they touch, unless they identify that is the correct nerve, they don't connect. They stay there until they have what it takes to be able to recognize each other so that they could start the connection. And it is much easier to connect peripheral nerves than to connect inside the central nervous system, exactly because it's so vital and so important. You have to connect the right neuron with the right neuron, the right nerve with the right nerve. So if I was giving an example of 20 nerves, for instance, severed because of an accident. Some of them can be quite clean cut and quite close to each other. They stay there and they wait for what it takes to reconnect. Some of them can be frazzled. They can be like the elastic that was stretched too much, and that frazzled state of the nerves makes it difficult for the correct reading of what happens. Some of them can have a distance as big as 10 centimeters. I saw that because it depends how the person falls. I cured somebody who had a motorcycle accident, and the way he rolled with the motorcycle created a gap that was 10 centimeters distance between. And he knew from the doctors, he knew that it's 10 centimeters, no, that's not 10, that's 5. So you can imagine when there's this much, the nerve is not there. As far as the body and the brain is concerned, is so what? If it grows from this distance towards each other, it grows from this distance. It just needs to have the proper conditions and the proper identification, and they grow. They don't move, the growth leads them closer, but I don't have the proper animation. Definitely I will be interested in somebody specialized in computer animation to edit some clips that will help people to understand the process. Because if they understand, just watching and understanding, they can give their own brain some ideas, and that can be helpful, at least prepare the body to accept the fact that there's something that can happen positively there. And once the process of growth starts, I look at the bundles of nerves and I realize, okay, there are 20 nerves that are severed. Actually, I had, in 2014, I worked with somebody who had 21 nerves that were in different degrees of damage. The rest, they were there, but this 21 had a need to reconnect. And they were up, they were C1, C2, C4. Miracle of miracles, C3 was not as damaged as the rest. So he was in the hospital with on respirator. They thought he'll never recover from that, but he did regain his breathing, and then he could advance from there. So once the nerves start to grow, and there is a way of telling them, of knowing, once the nerves start to grow and to connect, then they start to work. It's not hard to know that it really happened. It's not in my head, it's in the person's body. I can look, I see that they are disconnected, and then I can see which ones are the first that start growing towards each other. And usually those that are bonded, that are closer to each other, are of course more rapidly connected, but once they get it, they start growing. Now, one interesting thing that happens with me, and I had to see it as I was working, is that my work doesn't happen just in the sessions with the patient. It's not, let's connect those nerves now. Yeah, we do that. We focus on that. I explain to the patient everything I do. The person has to be conscious. Everything inside has to hear, because everything inside has a way of verifying. The soul can verify if what I say happens, does happen. The spirit of the person can verify. The brain, there are things inside that are so smart about life and about the way the body is built, that they listen and they go, yeah, that's right. Why didn't we think about that? Well, because there was a shock, there was an accident, and there's something that was followed by a lot of drama, and that made it more difficult to see clearly inside of a damaged structure. Is more difficult to see. it's difficult for the inner intelligence of the body to work through things that are much more simple than that. But when it is a drama and a serious injury, it's a little bit more difficult. So in this healing process, everything inside helps and wants to help. Everything wants to do their job. They just have to overcome what impedes them. They are capable. Every aspect of the person inside has a job to do. The soul, for instance, has the structure. The soul is a replica of the matrix for the individual, and it has everything about how the body is built, from every cell to every tissue to every organ to the whole body. The soul has to be throughout the body for the body to be well. When the soul has to go in safe mode and to be somewhere here in the solar plexus or wherever it ends up being, then it's more difficult for the body. The soul is like the structure of a building. If you build, before you put the walls, you have your structural beams. The soul is the structural beams for every organ and for every cell. And the soul has to come to the point of working in the place of the damage. For the matter to work with the nerves, the soul has to be there to show the structure. So the soul is one that has to be helped to be able to work. Then the mind says, okay, I'm ready to work, I'll help you to repair the nerves, and this is what I need to be able to work. And what the mind needs is the soul to be in place to keep the structure. And the soul comes like the construction worker and says, okay, we put plaster here. We have to rebuild the wall. We have to rebuild the myelin sheath. We have to remake the connection here. You keep the invisible structure, because for the mind, the soul is not invisible. Says, okay, soul, you keep the structure, show me each nerve, and show me where, and I put the substances there, because the mind works at the molecular level. It makes the molecules that are needed to repair the wall. But then the soul says, hey, where is the spirit? And the spirit has to be in a working shape and has to participate. Now, how does the spirit participate? The spirit brings the atoms. For the mind to make the molecules, it needs the atoms. So now if we compare the mind with the construction worker, somebody has to bring the bricks to build that portion. So the mind says, hey, give me some bricks. And those bricks have to exist in the body or to be available to the spirit. For instance, sometimes the body is depleted of things that are needed for repairing the flesh. And is depleted of endorphins, definitely. When it comes to spinal cord injury, the endorphins couldn't be any lower. So that is where it's very important to keep up the endorphins. It's very important to keep up the endorphins. The huge phenomena that happened in the past maybe 10, 15 years is with people with spinal cord injury getting involved, trying to surpass not only the physical limitations but the emotional limitations of the spinal cord injury. They start to play sports, do more things that they can enjoy. Now computers help a lot for people to feel that they can enjoy their life, listen to music, and do other things that are enjoyable. And that is very helpful and very important because they can build endorphins. So building intentionally the endorphins that are needed for the healing process and for the managing of pain, it's a great deal. So keeping soul, mind, body, spirit in good shape, and the building blocks from endorphins to vitamins. A lot of vitamin B is needed for the. A lot of vitamin B is necessary for the nerves. Vitamin B's are very important for the nourishment for the nerves. And a lot of nutrients. You don't have the body depleted when you are in a healing process. And when the healing process happens, you start a healing program, then you keep it, you are in a healing mode 24/7 until the program is done. You don't, everything you do, you have your dinner, that's healing mode, because you provide the nourishment that is necessary. You see your friends, that's healing mode, because they can give you the encouragement, the strength, and you can relate to them. Ideally, you have to do your best to help them as well as they help you to maintain a better state of mind, the body and spirit. And then you have to rest as part of the healing process. The healing is not the time in session and that's it. The healing is continuous because that's how the body works. You don't tell the body, okay, hold until next week when I come another hour. I work in an intensive way, meaning from Monday to Friday, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., with appropriate breaks for a snack and talking and understanding things. And there's a variety of actions, including exercise, snacks, and understanding the process, but also hands-on healing. And I work in that way because we don't have the luxury to leave the patient on the operating table. You don't just put somebody on the operating table, operate an hour and say, okay, I'll be back next week. In a week, I'll work with you. No, you start and you keep it going because the body does it anyway. And if it's not sustained, it goes a little bit and then it goes, ah. So appears to be okay, and then rather than have that happening, you have to have results every day. The beauty of the treatment is that the results are visible to the patient every day. Every day there's something good that happens, and when the movement starts, movements that were never there after the accident, movements that the person knew that cannot be done anymore starts to appear. And that's encouraging, and that's a celebration. And once it starts to appear, which happens in the first week of treatment, I had like day one, that change, day two, that change. There are some things that are almost ready and they need just a little bit and they start to work. There are some things that took more work, and there is an order of the healing process. But once this starts to happen, every day there is something good that happens. A new movement, a new degree in the movement, signs that the next movement will happen. And every day, at the end of the first month of treatment, you would be amazed to see how many things happen that you thought are forever lost, but they were there, they just needed the proper help. And that's what I want, to heal individuals who want to come for treatment, but also to use that as visual evidence for everybody in the world who will be encouraged and informed. Once people can see, people who may have lost their belief, they may have lost their faith, and losing faith is a big problem because faith is a substance that is needed in healing. Faith is not imagination or idea. Faith is a substance that would provide building blocks for the healing. So when you put this and you stream it for everybody in the world to see, seeing is believing. Even if they cannot attend to healing right away, even if they have to wait and they say, oh, the way things are going with me, I'll have the possibility to go for treatment 2 years from now on. Well, I know that at some point there'll be a waiting list, so that's another thing. I want to train people to be able to help other people so that when they want the treatment, they find the place to. And of course, that can be done in cooperation with other specialists. Kinetotherapy is part of it. Then having other specialists would be part of it. And we can cooperate, like all the people who worked so far for spinal cord injury would actually benefit from what I do because they'll have more results. I want to put the time to do what only I can do, and then people under my supervision until the end of the treatment, because I want to make sure that things are going well. They will have to work with other specialists as well. I can make their schedule in the sense that this is how much physio, this is how much kinetotherapy, this is how much streaming, whatever is necessary for them to continue whatever aspect of the healing process. And when is done, and everybody in the world will see it. And if some have to wait a few years until they can go for treatment, for whatever reason, people have all sorts of personal situations, they wait differently. They can prepare. They can wait knowing that it's possible rather than suffer, cope with the situation, not knowing if there ever be a solution. Once they see the solution, seeing is believing. And guess what? It activates the faith. And once the faith is activated, then the healing power increases. Even if people didn't have faith when they came. There are people who ask me, do I need to have faith? I kind of lost my faith because of this and that. And I said, no, you just have to have the will to cooperate. If you have the faith, yeah, it helps. If you don't have it, you'll have it when you'll see that it happens. And yes, it happens. Faith is also independent of dogma. Usually dogma has a way of blocking faith. Working with me and for the healing of the body, there are so many ways the belief can activate the faith. The possibility of generating that substance exists in the body, exists inside. If faith is lost, it comes back when the results happen and when the understanding of what led to such misfortune happens. When one understands why did they end up with such a cross on their shoulder, they will regret that they had to go through that situation. But when they see that they come out well, they will have the power to erase the worst part of the past. Not erasing the memory, but erasing the negativity that was connected to the pain. In pain, which is not desirable, but when it occurs, one can find wisdom and come out of the pain, or can find negativity and get stuck, and that's when people need a way of coming out of negativity. Seeing results is a way of coming out of negativity. Maybe it doesn't lead immediately to faith, but there's so much good that happens in the body in the healing process that before they know, they find their faith returning, and hope and optimism. There's a lot of positive change that happens in the healing of something that is of that nature, that profound, dramatic nature. So I was saying that the healing process is continuous, therefore it makes sense, and it also gives great results to work a number of days. 11 to 5 is a very good schedule because one has time to do everything they need to do in the morning, because we know that people with SCI have a hard time getting going in the morning. But by 11 they could be ready for treatment, and treatment can be enjoyable, can be made in an atmosphere that is friendly, pleasant, and stimulating. And then by 5 they have time to have supper, to watch their movies, to take care of their evening self-care, or the attendant can help them with what is necessary. As I found that this is the best schedule. And then you have the weekend. There are cases in which there's no need to have the whole Friday. So I can say, okay, you better be here at 3, and you work from 3 to 5, but it's still keeping the pace of healing. And then the weekend is good for other things, but it is a healing mode that starts when you start the treatment. Somehow, to some fainting extent, it starts when you decide to start the treatment. But what? You continue to function in a healing mode until you complete it. That I had a very interesting experience. In the first week, as I started to work on reconnection of the nerves, I would just finish my work and then go shopping or do something else, be busy with some other kind of aspects of my work. And all of a sudden, I see a nerve working towards reconnection. I count and say, oh, okay, another one that's connecting. Between the patient and I, there's that light communication that keeps me in touch continuously. I'm there to help 24/7. I'm not just being there an hour and then I go away. The invisible to the physical eye. My being as a continuum is assisting the body, is assisting the soul of the person, is assisting. I'm not the one doing the connection. I'm only teaching what's inside the body to do it. I'm only empowering what's inside the body to do it. So this evening I'm talking about reconnection. The next one I'll talk about other aspects. I'll take step by step, and I will keep these videos. It's not necessarily the best quality because it is just the laptop camera, but it's important to have it all together. So this is the first step, which is the reconnection. And I'll tell you more things about reconnection, but right now I'm just telling you the essential. So I found myself the first time that I saw that I was actually in touch with the patient in that healing sense, is that I was somewhere at the mall or in the parking lot walking towards the mall, and all of a sudden, like in those movies where you get the chime that shows that the angel is around, something got my attention. And I see the nerves working and start to count, oh, one more that's reconnecting, one more that's reconnecting. And I was continuously in touch until the reconnection happened. So the way the patient is in a healing process all the time, I am in assisting the healing all the time. I can have 20 patients and I am with all of them because my being traverses different places and different locations, connecting with different people, and the person interacts to what is present with them. So the language of the soul is a divine language, and my divine being with the divine language of the soul communicate, and they teach everything inside the body to reconnect. It's not a matter of using any materials other than rest and all the positive things. It's not using anything artificial, although technically I respect the advancement of science and everything that's put to help people, that's made available. I love to choose the kind of table that's needed for treatment, the kind of stand up, the kind of stand for being able to walk around, and everything that can be useful, like a training cage, a Rorschach cage, anything that can be helpful that's produced technically. A stand-up wheelchair, excellent for exercises. A lot of exercises done with me are happening in the wheelchair. Before people even get on the table, there are a lot of things that they will do from their chair where they're already used to be, and from there they do things that they never did before. And if you look at some of the videos that I have on YouTube, you can see how from the wheelchair people do exercises, and you may not know that they never did that before until we started to work. But it's good to see that, to see what's possible from the wheelchair. So now, one nice thing to do, if not having some words of thanks or some words of, boy, I'm so lucky to be able to work with her. I'm glad that she has patience with us, or kind things like that. If that doesn't happen, which I cannot demand, everybody expresses what they feel. It is so good for people to avoid negativity. Because when they go home, if they start saying, yeah, she made me wait a half an hour and she took time with the other person instead of being with me that half an hour, as if I didn't know what I was doing. But people can get impulsive, they can want things differently, and actually they say that God loves a grateful heart. Yeah, but why? Because that works better for everybody. Once it turns into judgment, like why did she have to paint the walls yellow, or why does she have to wear that, or when the judgment starts, they do that against their healing process. Their body is in a healing process. So staying in a thankful mode, in a restful mode, contemplating. They don't have to put time into saying great things about me or about the method or whatever. They can take a break from that, let the body work, but don't do things against the body. One of the things that happen against the body, and with this I will conclude what I'm saying tonight. One of the things against the body that people do, understandably so, but it's against the body. So the effort to not do that would make a big difference. One of the things that they do is that negativity is just flooding. Maybe not with everybody, maybe not all the time, but it is easy to be negative when one is very hurt. It doesn't help. So it's best to choose what helps. It is easy to be negative when you want to do something and you cannot. And you see those around you that they do things and you cannot. Then you have to deal with all the functions that are lost. You need somebody to assist you with the most intimate aspects of your life, and that can, I don't know for whom it's easy. Sometimes it happens with detachment. People have to detach sometimes from their, if I should say pride, I only say it in a positive way, because I think that people have a way of protecting their dignity. I don't think that their dignity is on the line. They throw pride to protect the dignity. They put pride in front like a shield. Actually, they want to protect their dignity. They go through things that would be hard for anybody. So we can understand that. But they will have to understand that they have to keep any negativity away for the duration of the treatment. Take it as a treatment method. Keep the negativity away, because negativity is dark, is tiring, and it consumes the factors that you need for healing. One of the causes for which healing is so poor in spinal cord injury is that the drama is so extreme. The tragedy, the negativity, the loss are so severe that it's hard to be anywhere near positivity. Yeah, there is, thank God I'm alive, which is good. It's very good. But then dealing with everyday difficulty can make it difficult. But start with thanks God I'm alive, then thanks God there are good wheelchairs, there are good people who help. So I'm looking forward to present to you the next stage. The first stage in healing, the first step in healing spinal cord injury is, like I said, the reconnection. And there's more about reconnection, but with each step we'll go through the essentials. Please let your friends know, and I'll do better to prepare more people who know. But everybody who needs to know more, please invite them, because if they can take one thing from what I say and that can make a difference for them, I'm happy with that. I'm pleased to know that the slightest thing can help somebody. Of course, what I really, really wish is to see people that take their healing possibility and they take it all the way from reconnection to walking. Once they do that, and we show that streaming on television, on the internet, then we have the whole world being encouraged. Imagine the difference it makes in the world when people will see that without being attached to anything technical, without going through any surgery like, how do they call stem cells, for instance, when they don't know how it turns out. There's a whole thing about stem cells. Whoever is happy to do it, they try everything that is possible. But leaving all aside, seeing that all it takes is a person, a healing environment, some means of exercising and communicating, and some people who care, and before you know it, instead of having a lifetime of pain and not being able to do what was possible before the accident, you'll see that you can fully recover. If that doesn't restore faith, I don't know what would. But I believe that there are many things, and this healing would restore faith in many people. What is even better right now is that we are in that time that is biblically acknowledged, when the blind shall see and the lame shall walk. And my work is part of that. That's what I do. I cured blindness as well, and I will have something for the blind to start going. We had to deal with a lot of anti-healing factors, and I needed enough years of insight to be able to be certain on every step. I had to study every angle. But now we are in that time where we have the divine assistance of the kingdom of God. When you have the kingdom of God working with you and nothing interfering, walking and seeing is something that becomes possible for most people. And I'm looking forward to hear from any of you who want to know more and who want to be healed. I'll tell you more about the healing program in a future event. Everybody, good night, and I hope you enjoyed the good news. And I'm available. I'll be staying around. I'm available to talk with you on Messenger and to discuss possibilities.